What's up, Entre Nation? Jeff Lerner here with another video. Man, this guy makes so many videos. I do it because I love it. We're here to talk about how Olympic athletes can inform us as entrepreneurs and awesome life seekers, what we can learn from the way they approach not just their sport, but their entire life, which is frankly really what we got to do, because we've, as entrepreneurs, people that are, and again, it's not just business owners, is what I consider entrepreneurs, people that go out and attack life and attack the world and realize that nobody's coming to save them, no one's coming to save us, and if we want it, we got to go get it, and if it's to be, it's up to me, or if it's to be for all of us, it's up to us. That one doesn't rhyme as well. And just that approach to life. Frankly, if we want to get our gold medal, our prize, right, which is the awesome life that we want that very few people have, it's an elite group, right? Just like Olympic athletes, that we got to kind of approach things that way with that intensity, focus, and drive. And so let's actually go right to the people that embody that and learn from the best Olympic athletes and what they can do to help us go win our version of the gold medal. So let's get into it. What can we learn from Olympic athletes? You know, there's some immediate things that are pretty obvious, right? Cliches that we talk about all the time in success and motivation. Things like it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You know, games are won in the fourth quarter, games are won in the ninth inning, races are won on the last lap. All these sayings that obviously sort of mirror sports and general success. The good old Ricky Bobby from Talladega Night said, "If you're not first, you're last." Kind of funny, but it's like kind of true, right? Well, especially when you realize business, entrepreneurship, life in general, going after the prize of the awesome life that we want. It's just a race of one, right? You're just racing against yourself. And in that sense, it's very true to say if you're not first, you're last. And it's kind of it's a hard truth, but it's kind of a zero-sum game. At the end of your life, or even along the way, you can stop and look around, although I'm not a big stop and look around type of guy. I think that's there's a trap in that. A lot of people say, "Oh, you should stop and smell the roses." No, don't break stride, don't break momentum any more than you have to. But if you do assess your life at any given point, it's either kind of awesome or it's not. Like, there's sort of a binary standard of like, man, am I really crushing it at life, or am I slacking and settling? Like, everybody knows. It's not a question we like to ask so much. But in that sense, you're either first or you're last. You're either kicking ass or you're like most people who are settling. The focus of mindset versus skill set, obviously you have to have certain prerequisite skills to win to compete in a sport, to succeed at life in the endeavors that you're going after. But clearly there's a lot more to it than that. We know that every bar is full of the Ed Bundy stereotype of the guy who, I scored 4 touchdowns in the state championship game in high school, but then never went anywhere with it, right? There's so many people like that, man. I was a champion mathlete in school, but now I work as I don't want to even say what a menial job is, because it'd be like dismissive of people with menial jobs. But again, you know if you've maximized your God-given gifts or if you're settling in life. And that's really what this video is about, is not doing that. I think of a guy like, I'm going to try to say this right, Eliud Kipchoge, who's the world record marathon holder, who's run a marathon in 2 minutes and 1 second. That would be sick. No, 2 hours and 1 minute. He's currently trying to shave that down to become the first guy to eclipse 2 hours. Although I heard he was trying for that recently, and I don't actually remember if he made it or not. So maybe I'm date stamping this video. Maybe that's already been broken. But I know for a long time it was set at 2 hours and 1 minute, which if you've ever I ran a half marathon in just under 2 hours. But to literally go twice as fast for 2 hours is mind-boggling to me. And here's the thing, it's not just skill. It's not just a natural gift. Yes, he's got clearly a natural gift, but there's so much more. And it comes down to, and this is probably the first thing I think we can learn from Olympic athletes, is it's leveraging 2 key things. Everything I'm going to talk about in this video comes down to leveraging 2 key things: people and technology. And by technology, I don't just mean computers or devices or streaming television services. I mean anything that's an innovation, anything that is a research-driven form of progress in whatever you're trying to do, right? So that could be, let's take Eliud Kipchoge, right? The shoes, man, the shoes that he wears. Have you seen the shoes that these marathon runners wear? Nike came out, it was controversial. Nike wanted to be part of the effort to help Eliud break the 2-hour mark in a marathon. And they came out with these shoes that they look like something off the Jetsons. Like the heel is like so curved, and so it's like when the foot comes down, it just rolls. It creates this almost like spring-like momentum because of the way the heel of the shoe is shaped and the materials and the way it grips the foot, but it's also super elastic so the foot can expand because your feet swell when you're running for that long. It's just like that's technology. Eliud, and really that's technology, but it's also leveraging people. So for Eliud to go break a 2-hour marathon record, it's not just going to be a victory for him. There's literally going to be a team of engineers. And on that team, we don't even have to pick apart that team with there's fabric scientists and there's compression scientists and there's medical experts and all this stuff on that team that effectively are winning the race with him. You've got his nutritionist, you've got his trainer. He's probably got a guy that goes out and scouts the course and tells him, yeah, hey man, at mile 17, there's a 2-degree upward grade for about 3 blocks on the road, and so you might want to manage your resources up to that point or whatever. It's a team effort, right? And even technology is a team effort. So for us in life, we have to constantly be looking for, and this is the thing that you find out about these elite athletes, every little tiny slight edge that they can get, they get. And they do almost anything they have to get it. Look, there's people who cheat. Clearly, we're not talking about that. And frankly, the thing I like about the world we're in, whether it's in athletics or business or most things, is there's so much transparency, there's so much visibility, there's so much information that spreads and has a contagion factor. You really don't, it's actually a lot harder to get away with cheating than it used to be even 20 or 30 years ago at virtually anything. And I like that. I think that's great because it further validates the idea that it's not about finding some giant cheat code or some giant hack to get you the results that you want. The people that are really, really succeeding in this world right now, whether it's at athletics, whether it's in business, even if it's in relationships, people that have amazing marriages, it's not because they found some cheat code. It's because they do a whole lot of little things a little bit better than everybody else who's doing all those same little things but not quite as well. It's finding these tiny little incremental advantages here, there, and everywhere that ultimately compound, and we'll talk more about that, the power of compounding, to get the result that you want. And that's why it takes such a breadth of focus. That's why an Olympic athlete's entire life is structured around their sport or their goal, which comes once every 4 years that they even have an opportunity to compete for it. Part of it's because it just takes that amount of training, but part of it's because in order to live life with the sensitivity, and I think this is what we can take from it, to live life with the sensitivity and the awareness necessary to find and implement all these tiny little opportunities for incremental improvement, it just requires a consciousness that has to be engaged all the time. It's not something that you can just say, okay, well, I train for 2 hours a day. So for 2 hours a day, I'm going to be thinking about my thing. And for 22 hours a day, I'm going to be unplugged from my thing. That's not how success works. That's not how elite athletics work. And this is a good sort of lead into what I'm going to talk about, which is the physical performance athletic. No, it's the personality performance athletic pyramid, which I'm going to talk about here in a moment. It's the dominance of the consciousness of the athlete that allows them to even perceive all these little places that they can get tiny little edges. You watch the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan. The guy was taking anything he could find. When he was in the hotel rooms at night, when he was on a road trip playing a series of games, he's still in the hotel room looking for little things that he can put into his mental construct to get that edge. That's how you honestly have to be in business. I believe that very, very strongly. So all that said, let's get into 5 specific things that we can take from Olympic athletes and implement into our life to make sure that we go get the life that we want, get our version of the gold medal. And knowing that, and again, the frame for this is that you have to have such a dominance of consciousness of the thing that you're going after, that it has to essentially become the foundation of your entire life. It's just, success is not something that you're going to be able to schedule into an hour or two a day like you would, say, going to the gym or something, right? If it's not the primary focus of your life, it's not coming, because the thing you got to remember is everybody wants it. Everybody, in their own definition, with their own slight tweaks to what it means and what it looks like. Everybody's going after it, but we don't live in a world, we'll never live in a universe. There's almost like universal laws about this, that it's not going to be achieved by everyone. So if you're going after something that 7 billion people are also going after, but that based on laws that are way bigger than any of us, the reality is maybe only 10% will achieve, maybe only 1% will achieve. I tend to think it's about 4%. I kind of have an idea in my mind of like the 80-20 rule within the 80-20 rule, that you have the 80-20, which leaves you the 20 that are actually the people that basically just kind of get most of the results. But even within that, I think you have another 20%, 20% of 20% is 4%, who really achieve excellence or what we would consider extraordinary things, or what I would call an awesome life. I literally think it's about 4%. So if you're trying to do something that, let's say I'm remotely right about this, you're trying to do something that 1 out of 25 people are actually going to accomplish, you start to understand, man, it better be really, really important to me. It better be a really, really dominant driving force in my life. Otherwise, I'm doomed from the start, right? First step is come with me on that belief. If you don't have that belief, then telling you 5 things that you can extract from Olympic athletes is not going to be useful, any more than another athlete going, well, what can I learn from Michael Phelps, who won all the gold medals at swimming? What can I learn from him to apply to my life? But I only really want to apply it for a few hours a day, because I don't want to have to think about it that much. I don't want to have to work that hard. That guy he's not going to get off the blocks, right? There's nowhere for him to go. And if Michael Phelps was there, he'd be like, bro, I think about this all the time. I live my entire life around my pursuit of my goals. And if you're not willing to do that, trying to pull little lessons from how I approach things isn't going to be of value. So assuming you're with me on that, let's talk about 5 specific things that you can get from Olympic athletes. And I'll kind of name them off real quick and we'll go through them in more detail. First of all, or the first one that I mentioned, is the personality performance athletic pyramid. The next one is the ability to handle pressure and handle pain, which I think are 2 sides of the same coin, and I'll explain that. The third one is about goal setting. The fourth one is about confidence, or what I would describe as an unreasonable confidence, an insuppressible confidence, coupled with, in my worldview, kind of an unrealistic or almost an insane level of enthusiasm. Those kind of go together too. And then finally, it's schedule management, it's time management, to really maximize the compounding effect of time that's well utilized, okay? So let's go through those 5 points in some more detail. Okay, so the first one, again, is the personality performance athletic pyramid. I wanna start by being clear. Personality, I don't mean like, do you have a good sense of humor? I don't mean like, do you cry when you watch, dramatic movies? I don't mean that stuff. I mean, there's specific personality traits that are really, really important for achieving goals, and there's some that don't matter. Specifically things like motivation, discipline, drive, maturity, emotional self-regulation, that's a huge one. Pain threshold, that's a huge one. So these are specific pieces of your personality that are really, really important. There's a definition of personality that I really, really like. This is taken from a book called Elements of Human Psychology. It goes like this. Personality is the entire mental organization of a human being at any stage of his development. It embraces every phase of human character: intellect, temperament, skill, morality, and every attitude that has been built up in the course of one's life. I love that. It's such a comprehensive definition of personality. It's not as simple as being like, oh, he's a good cook. Oh, he's got a great sense of humor. I mean, the entire mental organization at whatever stage you're at in your development. And I like it because it allows for the fact that personality changes. Like, I'm 41. I'm so much more disciplined than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's why my results now are completely different than what they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Intellect, temperament, skill, morality, your belief center, your belief systems, your attitudes, everything that builds up in the course of one's life. You want to change your personality, change the elements of the stack that you're building your life on, right? The number one thing that I think has to be said about all of those elements of personality is this. The specific personality traits that lead to success in things that are difficult are all personality traits that are created, they're born of pain. The endurance of pain, the survival of pain are the things that create the personality traits that breed success. Which leads me to my second lesson from Olympic athletes, which is how they handle pressure and pain. And again, the reason I couple those together is because those are really just both forms of discomfort. You know, for some people, a lot of people watching is extremely uncomfortable. It's a form of pain. These are the people that are terrified of public speaking. For other people, no one watching is extremely painful. These are the people that are maybe terrified of obscurity, right? You can't necessarily create a one-size-fits-all definition of these conditions. So whether pressure is painful or, like I said, in some cases, a lack of what many people would consider pressure is painful. And frankly, I tend more towards that. I've evolved over time. I used to be terrified of people watching. Now I'm terrified of obscurity because I recognize in the world that we live in, obscurity means a total lack of leverage, means a total lack of the real currency that increases the value of what you're doing, means a total lack of earning power, means a total lack of control in your life, means a total lack of impact, a lack of the ability to matter or be significant or make a difference. It's all a perspective, right? So the definition or the circumstances that drive people's opinion of what's painful, what's uncomfortable, or what's pressure change. But whatever it is, the ability to tolerate it over long periods of time is what creates the particular characteristics that drive success. So for that reason, if you want to be successful, you have to experience and not only endure, but thrive and come out the other side of pain. And when you understand that, you understand a lot of how Olympic athletes and what they do, why they live the way they live and they do what they do. But also, you actually take on or sort of create a sense of real gratitude in life about things that maybe on the surface didn't seem that awesome. They didn't seem that fun. You become really grateful for things where you have an opportunity to develop and or prove the ability to tolerate and thrive through pain, right? There's an amazing book, not to derail this conversation, but one of my favorite books is a book by C.S. Lewis called The Problem of Pain. And I love this book. It's one of the most influential books in my life. A lot of people hear C.S. Lewis and they think religion or theology. He's a pretty strong Christian moralist and Christian apologist, and so they sort of block out some of that. I'm not taking a position on that. It's not about your religious beliefs. At the end of the day, great reasoning is great reasoning. And C.S. Lewis is one of the greatest reasoners of anyone that I've ever come across or read. And the core reasoning of The Problem of Pain basically goes like this. And it deals with a fundamental question about God that I actually think a lot of people are interested in. So I'm going to say what it is, and I'm not going to try to tweak it or remove God from it, even though maybe, I don't know, somebody might be offended by that. That's not the point, though. The point is trying to become grateful for the pain in our lives. That's not a religious objective. That's a very human objective. That's a personal growth objective, right? So this is the basic problem that this book confronts, and I'm going to encourage you to read the book. I mean, it's just amazing. He says, if God were good, he would make his creatures perfectly happy. And if he were almighty, he would be able to do whatever he wished. But the creatures are not happy. Therefore, God lacks either goodness or power or both. That's the core rhetorical argument that he attempts to work through in the book. It's so powerful, because whatever word you want to substitute for God, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You have to logically reach a place where you see the good, you see the power, you see the gratitude, or you feel the gratitude within pain, because pain creates the attributes that actually lead to success in a world that is fundamentally competitive, whether we like it or not. You have to be able to outlast, outwork, outstrive, outendure, outperform someone or something else. I mean, that's nature, man. The tree that grows the tallest is the one that pulls the most nutrients out of the same soil that all the other trees are pulling nutrients out of to not grow the tallest, right? That's just the world we live in. And so without a competitive spirit or the desire to push people down or step on people or any of that, you have to embrace the concept of excellence and the drive to seek every single edge that you can get, or else you won't make it. And that ability to not only look at the world that way, but to endure longer than most people will, because again, we know that it's maybe not completely zero sum, but we know it's a competitive environment where 100% of the people that want to have an awesome life aren't going to have it. And Jeff is arguing that it's actually only about 4%. There's some amount where you're going to have to be really, really, really like unusually amazing at tolerating pain. And you will not be that if you've never had a huge amount of pain in your life. Learning to love pain. That's probably the number one thing about high elite athletes is they create a lot of pain in their life, even that doesn't technically need to be there, because they recognize that it does actually need to be there based on what their goals are. If your goals are big enough, then one of the necessities becomes a much higher level of pain than people with smaller goals. You see that? And so they wake up every day and they do things that most people aren't willing to do to create a pain beyond what most people are willing to endure, much less invite, so that they can achieve what very few people ever will. This belief makes life more endurable for this reason. Creating pain that you control and getting really, really good at enduring it and overcoming it will make you perform better in the presence of pain that you don't control. Let me say that again. Creating pain that you can control and enduring it and thriving in spite of it will make you perform better in the presence of pain that you don't control. That's why you create constant pain in your life intentionally if you want to be great. That's why the number one value of my education company is we eagerly do hard things well. Kick your own ass every day, and it won't hurt so bad when you get in a fight, and you won't be gripped with the fear of getting your ass kicked, because you're like, I know I can take it. I hit myself harder every day than anybody else is ever going to hit me, because they don't care as much, because they're doing it as an act of destruction, and I'm doing it as an act of creation. And creation has a more passionate intensity than destruction. So nobody's ever going to hit me as hard as I can hit myself, because I want it more. Create pain in your life every single day to prove to yourself what you can tolerate, and then you won't even notice when the world does it to you. That's something that Olympic athletes understand. That's something that wildly successful people understand. That's something that the vast majority of the world spend their entire life trying to avoid. Like, the subtext of all of this is that being great, being excellent, having an awesome life, achieving ridiculously big goals that are bigger than what most people will ever even strive for is that it isn't that fun. The subtext is that it's not a party. It's not chill. It's not just doing whatever, bro. It's obsession. It's maniacal drive. It's a belief that it's not going to be fun. It's definitely not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. If I create enough pain so that my adaptive response builds enough muscle and enough coordination and enough necessary skill in response, because that's literally how nature works. Pain, recovery, pain, recovery. If I do that enough, I can be good enough, I can be enough to then be able to do the things to ultimately have the result that I want. Be, do, have. I didn't make that up. Google it. Be, do, have. The incremental process of doing what I just described has to do with the third thing that we can pull from Olympic athletes, which is setting goals. The process of, in a controlled way, remember I said it's about creating pain that we control so that we'll be able to persist in the presence of pain that we don't, right? That process is about setting incremental goals that we hit, that we make. It has to be controlled, right? It can't be uncontrollable pain. We can't bleed out and die. That's literally what goals are. The idea of a goal is it's something you stretch for, you push for. One of my favorite influencer, somebody that I'm wildly influenced by and I'm so grateful for, and I really hope I get to meet and have on my podcast someday and just actually talk to and tell him what a big influence he's been on me, is a guy named David Goggins. This guy's insane. He was in elite special forces in multiple branches of the military. He's the world record holder for pull-ups as like a 200, and I think he weighed like 210, 215 when he broke the record. Most guys that are really, really good at doing a lot of pull-ups weigh like 140. They're like these kind of small little gymnasts that are built like squirrels. He's like a big football player looking guy. He's just busting out 4,200 pull-ups or something in 24 hours. One of the things that he says, one of my favorite quotes from him, is he says, "I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done." If you've watched a video like this far, you're probably pretty into this stuff, right? So you probably know what SMART goals are: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I like to think about SMARTer goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, evaluated, and readjusted goals, because it allows for the progress and the cyclical nature of time. That a goal isn't something you define and you either hit or don't hit. A goal is something you define and you aim for, because success is a trajectory. It's not an end point. And I have whole other videos where I talk about that duality between momentum and location. Particle physics, if you look up the Heisenberg principle, I think that applies to our life too. And that that you're either in momentum or you're measuring location. I try not to measure location. I try to focus on momentum, and that's what goals are. And the way you keep goals far enough in front of you that they can constantly be leading more and more momentum is you not only establish specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals, but you constantly evaluate them and you constantly readjust them, right? So having a process. A lot of people create a goal, they hit the goal, and they go, okay, I need a new goal. What you need to have is, from the beginning, when you establish the goal, you need to have a process that assumes that you're going to hit the goal, or you're at least going to move in the direction of the goal. And that as you move in the direction of the goal, your understanding of your own potential, your understanding of your own environment, your ability to, let's say, afford more help or have access to more resources should cause you to reevaluate and redefine the goal. So the goals, you have a dynamic relationship with your goals. They're not just this static thing out in the distance that you're hoping to reach someday. I'll use my business as an example. We were trying to get from $100,000 a month to $200,000 a month. We had certain resources we could work with. We had a certain team. We had certain understanding, certain base of experience that we could work from. And so within that, we had to define a goal. Let's double our revenue, 100 to 200, right? Along the way of getting to 200, all of those things change. Your experiences change, your resources change. Even if you hit 150, now maybe you're able to add a new member to the team. And when you add a new member to the team, it changes the possibilities. It brings their experience into the fold of your experience. And there's new information and new insight, new perspective. And now 200 might at that point be a meaningless or arbitrary goal. And in fact, 200 should be 300. And there's no reason to wait until you get to 200 to evaluate it and possibly readjust it and say, hey, based on this new team member that we brought in, because we even were able to get to 150, now 200 should be 300, right? So it's this more fluid, more dynamic environment where the goals, they're like the carrot that's constantly leading the dog in the race. You're constantly moving them up and out as you grow in their direction. And that way, you not only, you don't define them by location, you define them by momentum and trajectory. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. So Jeff, how do I approach life with this constant and never-ending improvement mindset? What you're saying is just so not how the world is wired. Well, one of the things you'll learn when you get around elite people, whether they're athletes, whether they're business people, really successful performers, entertainers. I've been around, when I was a musician, I was around some world-class musicians. A few times I was able to get access to people that were, the elite of the elite. I did a concert series once with a saxophone player named Michael Brecker, and you may not know who that is, but if you're a saxophone player, you definitely know who Michael Brecker is. He's at one time was arguably the best saxophone player in the world. He was the Michael Jordan of that instrument. And here's one of the things you learn about these people is, they're not like most people. They're not on their phones all the time. They're not, worried about knowing what the next hot series on Netflix is. They're not even always that fun or cool to be around. But what they are all is obsessed. And that obsession, the ability to sustain the necessary energy, the necessary focus, the necessary obsessive quality over long periods of time is confidence. And the thing about confidence is, it's a belief in yourself, but it's also an ability to weather and deflect and insulate from the beliefs of a lot of other people. Confidence is, in a way, it is a form of competition, because by definition, by the nature of the world that we live in, you're not going to be able to maintain confidence and develop real long-term sustainable confidence unless you have systems in your life for essentially combating the world and society's tendency to try to eat away and erode your confidence. Confidence is an oppositional goal, or confidence creates an oppositional direction to the direction that the world would try to draw you in. The world wants to integrate you. The world wants to plug you into these larger systems and these larger machines and essentially milk you of your energy. I mean, not to get all crazy out there conspiratorial, but the movie The Matrix is a great example of actually what the world wants to do with you. They want you to be a battery that's plugged into the Matrix. So for you to be confident, you have to be resisting, you have to be unplugged and resisting ever being replugged in. And that has almost a combative nature to it. Really, really successful people, really, really confident people almost have a little bit of an oppositional way about them. If you try to ask for more than you've earned of their time, of their money, of their energy, of their focus, you will realize, call it even perhaps the dark side of their obsession. They will snap back. They will shut you down. No, you haven't earned that. I don't have time. I don't have money. Your cause is important to you, but right now it's not important to me, and you haven't earned the right to come burst it into my space. That's just the nature of it. Look at a guy like Elon Musk. His company was dead. Tesla was dead, but he was out there with a vision. And here's the number one thing when you understand his story that's mind-blowing and that's so powerful and inspiring. It's not that he was able to make this thing work or, to get Tesla to be this multi-billion dollar, 100 billion, whatever it is now, $150 billion company. Everybody, very, very smart people, investment bankers, research analysts, even technologists, scientists, engineers, all the people that were sort of at his station or impacted, people that he had to be around or be networked with, unless they were in his world, aligned with his mission, virtually the entire outside world was against his mission, telling him he was an idiot, telling him he was crazy, telling him he had squandered his billion-dollar fortune from when he sold PayPal, telling him that he was setting himself up to be a mockery and a failure and a historical anecdote of somebody that didn't know when to quit. That's confidence. And he didn't do it by going out and picking fights and throwing the finger at everyone around him. He did it by just blocking it out. There was no one to fight. There was no one to flip off. In his world, he was so obsessively focused with what he was doing that unless you had something to offer his mission, he didn't even know you existed. I mean, I've heard him talk about this time. And the thing is, he had already made peace with the fact that it might not work. He actually said, I thought it was going to fail, but I still believed it was important to do. And you understand the hours that he worked. It's not like I worked really hard over the weekend to put my kids, new skateboard ramp together. He did it for years, 14-hour days, 16-hour days. The guy was already a billionaire. He didn't need the money. He didn't do it for the money. He did it because he thought it was important. And he did it with a spirit of confidence that was, by most very smart people at the time, considered unreasonable. And the thing is, he's still doing it. The guy makes these big pronouncements all the time about he's going to, this is why Wall Street hates Tesla. They have such a love-hate relationship with Tesla. They love it because if they would just leave their damn money in it, they would have made a bunch of money. But they hate it because they can't corner the guy. They can't corral the guy. They can't pin him down and get him to play along with them. He makes these projections. Well, I suspect we're going to do this. And he misses them. He misses them wildly. Sometimes he goes beyond them. Sometimes he falls short of them. And he's not apologizing for it. He's like, me moving this company forward is about me keeping myself motivated. I realize I have a little bit of a necessary relationship with the street and the world of the public. It's a public company, so I have a fiduciary responsibility not to be reckless, but he's not being reckless. And part of his not being reckless is doing what he needs to do, setting audacious targets, being a little bit of a gunslinger to keep himself driving forward, because he recognizes that he's actually the Energizer Bunny. He's actually the energy core that's going to keep the whole initiative moving forward. And it's not about setting projections or setting targets or goals that are about making Wall Street happy. It's about setting goals that make him want to get his ass out of bed in the morning and keep doing what he needs to do. And he gets that, and he hasn't allowed the world to pluck that out of him. He does product launches, and then the delivery dates get delayed. Has he stopped? He keeps doing it. And he fails spectacularly. His initial Roadster, he laughs. He's like, oh, that was a total disaster. But he knows that if he keeps going, it keeps going. And he's always acted like that's the truth, whether he doubted it or not. And that's the thing about confidence. Confidence isn't a measure of how you feel. It's not a measure of what you think. It's a measure of how you act. You want to feel confident? You want to be confident? Act confident. Ask every second, what would a confident person do? And do that thing, and you are thus a confident person. Confidence is just what you do, right? I spent the last 2 years. I'm shooting this in, June 2020, September 2018, I started making videos. I had just sold off one business. I ended up not even getting paid for all the money for what I sold that for. I had another business that was basically in the process of crumbling. But I knew how the internet worked. And I said, I'm going to start shooting these videos. I'm going to start building up a base of content, because the time will come when I want to relaunch some products, and those products will be measured against the validity and credibility of me as a value creator, as somebody who contributes more than he asks for in return. So I said, I know I need to start now creating a big base of content and delivering a huge amount of value to the world through these broadcast mechanisms that gratefully are free, like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and so on. I did that for almost a year without ever selling anything. And even then I only started selling small so that I could test, so that I could optimize, so that I could find the message to market match, so that I could get everything really dialed in. It's been almost 2 years, only in the last few months, that I've really started to market aggressively with actual products and services for sale. I'm now very unapologetically in business to make money. It's a for-profit business. Profit is the first goal of business. That's one of my company's values, or one of our business values. But that means about almost a year and a half, I was producing hundreds and hundreds of videos, spending hundreds of hours. And frankly, I spent tens of thousands of dollars boosting and promoting those videos out to the internet without even selling anything. Meanwhile, I had one business that was decaying. I had another business I was getting screwed on out of the sale, but I know how the world works. During that time, I can count on two hands the number of people that actually rooted me on, and actually, even if they didn't understand what I was doing, they actually believed that I knew what I was doing. Let's say there were 10 of them. Those 10 people don't have enough fingers together, combined, to count all the people that thought that I was nuts. I've had people in my world for the last 2 years, and many, many more that were quietly thinking it but not saying it, thinking that I was completely out of my mind. Why is he making so many videos? And not trying to build a real business, not actually getting a job, not actually doing work to get paid. They thought I was either crazy or that I was reckless and making some huge gamble that had very low odds of success, or they thought I was being self-indulgent, and I was like, well, if I can't have the businesses I used to have, if I can't have, then at least I can have some sort of maybe ego gratification because a few people will clap for me online. I've been dealing with that perspective now for almost 2 years, and I never stopped. And I didn't not stop because I was spending all my time fighting my haters or telling people in my life, get screwed, you don't know what you're talking about. I did it by just putting blinders on. I just blocked it out. And I was able to do that because the people that I do study, the people that I do lean into learning from, are guys like David Goggins and guys like Elon Musk and guys like Steve Jobs, people that have never needed the validation or the support of other people, maybe a handful, maybe a wife, maybe a mom. I mean, every story has like some cheerleader, but general, we're waiting for the world to approve. Do you think Olympic athletes? Think about what Olympic athletes had to go through before anybody even knew who they were. By the way, can you name The person, realistically, you probably couldn't, until this video, couldn't even name the name of the person who had a world record in the marathon, Eliud Kipchoge. But I've been researching this video for hours, getting all these, parts and pieces together and what I wanted to say. And I couldn't tell you who's got the second place world record, who ran it in 2 hours and 2 minutes. I don't know. That guy's really fast. And that guy's worked really hard, probably for decades, to be able to do that. And I can't tell you his name. Doing it for recognition and appreciation for other people, at least in sports especially, it's not going to get you there. It's not going to drive you. The confidence has to come from caring so deeply about the goal that whether or not anybody else approves, you're going to do it anyways. And if that's the kind of confidence that you have, then you will naturally at least have the ability to do the fifth thing that we can learn from Olympic level athletes, which is managing your time in such a way that it holds ritual and it holds habit and routine and process long enough for the real power, the real compounding effect, the power of long periods of time to actually weigh in your favor. So many people, they do everything necessary to succeed other than doing it for long enough. They buy all the right gear, they invest in the right whatever, they go through the right training, they implement the right strategies, they learn from the right people, they join the right clubs or masterminds or whatever, they hire the right coach, they do all these things, except they don't do it long enough for it to work, right? That's like saying, well, I invested money, I've been investing every month for 10 years and I still can't retire. Man, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of putting my money in the bank every month. I'm tired of investing. I'm tired of waiting on the law of compound interest. I'm out. I'm done. Cash in the account, I'm done. I'll just burn through the cash and keep working for the rest of my life. It's like, dude, you did it for 10 years. All you had to do was do it for 10 more and you'd be set. Come on, it works. It just takes time. In fact, if you want to compress time, you need to work more. You need to put more in, not just bail, right? So many people. And I think that it comes from not having the confidence, not having the drive, not having the ritual of creating and overcoming pain. Create the pain, overcome the pain. Create the pain, overcome the pain. Isn't that what athletes do? They push and push till it hurts, till they cry. Then they go rest. Then they do it again. Then they go rest. Then they do it again and they go rest. Really, athletes actually only have 4 states of being. The best athletes in the world. If you go look at the personality performance athletic pyramid, at the top of that pyramid, the elites, you'll find people that really only have 4 states of being in this world. High intensity training, low intensity training, active rest, and passive rest. That's it. When I talk about how this is a 24-hour-a-day endeavor, that it's not something you can just go schedule for 2 hours a day or an hour a day like you would to go to the gym. Going to the gym for 2 hours a day may be part of it. Part of it for me, I'm not an athlete. You should see me play sports. It's not a graceful, beautiful thing when I play sports. I don't go to the gym because I'm trying to compete at athletics. I go to the gym because I'm trying to compete at life. I just want to be the best version of myself. I want to have the most energy. I want to have the most stamina. I want to have created and endured and succeeded through the most pain that I can control. I can create and control over long periods of time in my life. Go push yourself every day. Find ways to go create controlled pain in your life every day. Everything else in your life will get easier. But you have to look at it that way 24 hours a day. I promise you, elite athletes view everything in their life, all 24 of those hours, all 7 days of that week, as one of those 4 things. Am I doing my high intensity training right now? My training where I sharpen skills and I break my fibers down so fast that it's going to stimulate an aggressive adaptive response of getting stronger, but it's also so intense that it would become counterproductive to do it for too long. It would break me beyond the point of repair. Is this one of those times? Or is it a lower intensity training time? Is this a time when I'm doing work because I want to keep the neural pathways active? I want to keep stimulating the muscles. I want to keep the growth happening, but I can't be breaking myself down beyond what I can reasonably repair in the time that I have. So is it a high intensity training or is it a low intensity training? Or am I not training, but I'm engaged in active rest? I'm keeping my mind sharp. I'm keeping my emotions engaged. I'm keeping my focus. Maybe I'm reading. Maybe I'm playing with my family. Maybe I'm going for a walk. Maybe I'm out climbing a hill. Maybe I'm out, whatever they do, right? Maybe I'm fishing, but I'm being engaged. I'm still keeping sharp. I'm not asleep. Or is it passive rest? which generally is sleep. Sleep is, for most elite athletes, just about probably the only truly passive rest they allow themselves, where both their mind and their body are shut down. I know a lot of really successful people, and I don't know any of them that are like, I like being awake while doing things that are completely mindless and completely physically relaxed. I literally don't know any really successful people that are like, I want to shut down my body and shut down my mind and just veg, unless it's meditation. But meditation is itself a form of active rest. I don't know anybody that wants to be like just jello unless they're just asleep. Sleep is necessary, but it's not fun. That's the whole point of being passive. It's neither fun nor not fun. It's just, it happens and it's necessary, so you do it. Then you wake up and you get after it, right? So there you have it. 5 different lessons that we can take from Olympic athletes and we can apply to our life as entrepreneurs and awesome life seekers. Again, it's only relevant, it's only useful to you if you agree with me on the perspective that all 24 hours of the day need to be in pursuit of our goal, and they just need to be framed as either high intensity training, low intensity training, active rest, or probably sleep. But within that, these are lessons that we can build into our daily routines so that we can be great, so we can win that gold medal, we can get that awesome life that I think we all deserve, but I also think probably only about 4% of us are actually gonna get. Okay, cool. So if you're a fan, if you've stuck this far in a video like this, I think it's safe to, you're either a fan or you're a huge heckler with not a lot else to do. I'm pretty sure you're probably the former though, and I appreciate it so much. I work really hard to do this and bring this value to people as often as possible. If you would, please give me a like, hit the thumbs up on the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're not seeing this on YouTube, go check it out. Give me a like there, subscribe to the channel, please. And when you're there, leave me a comment or a question. How does this strike you? Are these techniques you already use? Are these techniques you need to apply? If you have questions about how I apply these techniques, I love interacting with my audience. I have a free Facebook group that you can join that's called Entre Nation, where basically if you like this video, you're gonna like the group. This is the kind of stuff that's always going on in the group. We're just lifting each other up, making each other better. And I also have a free ebook specifically on how to, what I believe is the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, how to take these kinds of attitudes and principles and apply them directly to business and get results as quickly as possible. You can get that free ebook at millionaireshortcut.com. Thanks again for watching this video. I appreciate your time so much and being a part of my mission to help create as many awesome lives as possible. I hope to see you on the next video. Take care.